his Montreal Alouettes 2022 CFL Draft preview. Heading into the 2022 draft circuit, Montreal might be the team that needs an infusion of young talent more than any other team in the league. Who will they target? What are their needs? Do they select? So heading into the 2022 CFL Draft, the Montreal Alouettes may be the team in the most need of infusion of young talent. However, no unit needs more help than the defense. After allowing just 305 points in 14 games and producing 50 sacks on the season, they saw significant turnover. The Alouettes watched as several players on every level of their defense left for other teams this offseason during free agency. So key losses in free agency: David Menard, defensive lineman Woody Barron, linebacker DJ Lalima, he was injured. DB Monshredrick Hunter had 2 interceptions. Twan Glass had a sack. Patrick Levels, 3 sacks and interception. Ty Cranston also left. That's a lot of DBs to lose. These are just players who have already latched on elsewhere. There is still a list of players who have yet to resign. Despite a strong push at retaining their own players, Montreal still has 6 free agents sprinkling throughout their team. This leaves Montreal needing to address the defense, specifically their secondary, earlier in the 2022 draft class. Building their secondary now through the draft will only benefit them over the next few years, as some of these short-term fixed free agent signings see their contract expired. So the positions of need: defensive back, pass rusher, linebacker, and wide receiver are the draft picks held by Montreal. They have the 4th overall pick. That's where I would take a DB. I'm with you there. 13th, the 24th, 33rd, 42, 51, 60, and 69. The global draft, they have the first global draft pick. You know it's going to be a punter. Guaranteed. Punter. The 18th in the second round and the 19th in the third round. Projecting 10 potential targets on round 1. Terrell Richards, linebacker, defensive lineman, DB, despite highlighting the secondary as their biggest need early in the draft. I believe the man Montreal needs to target as their 4th overall pick as the 1st round is Terrell Richards. We all watched Richards lit up the combine, working out a DB and a linebacker and defensive lineman, ultimately capable of playing DB as well, but declining to work out all 3 positions. This is exactly the reason why he's a perfect fit for Montreal's defense. He is still on the board when the Montreal Alouettes select. I agree. I think if he's still on the board, you got to go with this guy, Terrell Richards. No question about that. He's a guy who stands at 6'3", weighs anywhere from 210 to 235 in college, and has done his part in the run game, passing by a coverage and even a pass rusher. Richards may not have played in 2020 or 2021, but he still managed to rack up 55 tackles, 9 for a loss, 6 sacks, 1 interceptions, and a bunch of other stuff. So he is versatile. Richards can come in and play a role that would help fill the shoes of several players through free agency, although you won't catch him playing cornerback. He can still do the same things on defense. Defense did with 6'3", 205-pound Ty Cranston. He'll aid the pass rush. So definitely a guy that they should sign. Jesse Luketa, a linebacker, also is a guy, a prospect. He's a unique prospect given that he's born and raised in Ottawa. He will not count against the American-Canadian ratio in a negative manner, despite receiving very high-level coaching at Penn State, so the former Penn State guy. Enoch Makonzo, the DB. So if Richard and Luketa are already picked, they'll take a DB, Enoch Makonzo from Coastal Carolina. He's the type of player who can play safety or line up as a linebacker, depending how the coaching staff views him. Again, adding a player with this versatility can help mask many of the different losses the Alouettes are trying to fill in the draft. Some other potential guys in round 2, Terrell Ford, he's got on there, DB, if he's still available, of the famous Ford twins. Jaden Dalek is a guy who could be very interesting to watch in CFL, large safety, 6'2", 210 pounds, that hits like a linebacker. He's a former CJFL All-Canadian, showing his level of play prior to the draft. So we'll see if he's another one. Josiah Shackle, a linebacker. He is how Shackle is an asset in coverage and his primary use of linebacker. Maybe they go defensive line. Anthony Fercario is a guy who made an impression in college. He is an exact type of designated pass rusher who could place David Menard. 6'4", 250 with that guy. He was able to get 20 sacks over his 3 seasons of play and would fit perfectly where Menard left off. In fact, Frederico might be the best fit scheme-wise for Montreal wants to do in the second round. So we'll see that. Global draft. That being said, there's also the global draft occurring the same day. Remember, that's happening before. As Mike Mitchell pointed out, his Toronto Argonauts draft view, there was one particular player that stood out among the rest. French DB Idris Jean Alphonse is a player who could garner a lot of attention due to his performance at the Combine. Another guy who stood out at the Combine was wide receiver Yankick Martyr of the GFL, running a 4.56 40 dash, 10-foot 3-inch broad jump, and 7.22 in the 3-cone drill. So those could be guys helping in the secondary. Idris John Alphonse, a cornerback, or safety, is a guy out there, or Unac Mayard, a wide receiver. And the Alouettes are lucky to have a solid group of weapons on the offensive side. They were able to retain William Stanback, Eugene Lewis, and Jake Winicky as their weapons for their quarterback Vernon Adams and Trevor Harris. So maybe you bring in a guy like Mayer to help out when it comes to that. Some honorable mentions: Mads Flat, linebacker, Consanas Gladiators; Ryan Gomes, linebacker of the Gallup Brazil; Carlos Bronze of the Warclaw Panthers of the ELF, something that we talk about here, the ELF, European League of Football as well. So we will see. It'll be interesting what's going to happen with the Montreal Alouettes, but I totally agree with Sam's assessment that they definitely need to get some of that secondary help coming into the 2022 season.